Good morning, colleagues. John, do you think we'll have a quorum to start?
We do indeed have a quorum. Yep.
Thank you. Um, as a way of introduction, guys, I'm currently at the Rochester campus, University of Minnesota Rochester campus, and I'm joined here by Montaz, the House Senator, and the SSCC representative, um, the House rep to the SSCC. All right, good morning. My name is Taiwo Aremu, and I'm chair of the Student Senate. I would like to call this meeting of the Student Senate to order and welcome all of you to the first Student Senate meeting of the new semester. Second, if you have comments or questions during the meeting, please utilize the raise hand function located under the reaction tab of Zoom. When you're recognized, please state your name and the college you represent. Are there any questions at this time? All right, so the first item on our agenda is the presentation of proposed bylaw changes by Chase Group. Please note that these changes will be eligible for a vote at the next Student Senate meeting. Chase, the floor is yours.
Thank you. John, would you be able to put it into the chat? I don't see it linked on the document, but
Yep, I just linked it into the document and I'll drop it in the chat now.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So the basics of this document is a bylaw change, essentially institutionalizing our internal committees or our working groups into internal committees. It has a new requirement that new senators starting in, by the time this would be passed, would be required to sit on a committee of some sort, either in University Senate or the subsidiary senates or an internal committee. Then they would also have different charges for each committee. They have what at-large positions that would be sat on that committee. Secretary minutes are taken by a student member and not a staff member of the office. It's just, and those are kind of the overview of it. Is there any questions that I could take regarding the legislation?
I want to assume that maybe folks have not had the time to read it. So, Chase, do you want us to put up a few more seconds or minutes for folks to read it, or you think we should move forward?
Yeah, if you want, like you want to take a 5-minute recess and come back at 11:40.
What about you just quickly skim through and tell us the major changes or suggestions you're making? Maybe that might
Okay.
just use of time.
Okay. Yep. I can go through it quickly here. So the first section, as I said, it would create a committee service requirement for all senators to sit at least on one committee as part of their term. And then there would be, it would be the same if they do not fulfill that requirement. It would be the same as not filling any other requirements currently there. So that's just been placed in there. The internal committees and internal subcommittees, that just for section Article 7, Section 1, just talks about what they are, what's the difference between them, membership on those committees, committee procedures regarding voting. Those are pretty much all the same from considering the current committees and internal committees. They'd be pretty much the same, other than the appointment message is a little different. Standard rules apply. Let's see. Removal is the same as normal. The 5 committees, or the committees that I'm proposing, would be a Rules and Oversight Committee, a Health and Wellness Committee, Student Basic Needs Committee, Legislative Ambassadors Committee, Public Relations Committee, and those would be the committees that I proposed. They're taken almost directly from the working groups. Some working groups I've merged into a single committee because they had pretty similar mission objectives. So
Thank you, Chase. Colleagues, do any of you have questions, comments, suggestions? All right, thank you, Chase. So I think the next, what we'll do next is, I already had a chat with John, and we're trying to see how we can have the University Parliamentarian have a look at this. So John and I would talk about this much later, and then we'll see what we can do. So at least we need their oversight, counsel, advice. And if we need to still call for a meeting much later, we'll do that before the next Senate meeting. So the goal is to see if we can bring this up for vote in the next student Senate meeting. John, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the process here. So the reason that this isn't eligible for a vote is because, and I'll drop the clause of the Constitution under Article 11. Here is that things need to be brought up to the body as a whole and given notice 10 days before a meeting that they'd be voted on. This either happens when voting on this can happen either by the majority of all voting members or over the course of 2 meetings where there is a majority of those in favor of those voting and present as well too. So those are just sort of the processes for this. So this would definitely be eligible for next meeting and possibly for would have to drag into the next one in April as well too. But there are other processes for that too. So, yep. But thank you for submitting this, Chase. I think this is a good idea. Not to provide my biased editorialization, but yeah.
That's a lot of hard work. Thank you, Chase. I appreciate it. Thanks for the insight, John. Okay. In the absence of any more comments, so the next item is an update from each of these students' associations. So can we have Sam from Duluth?
Hello, I hope you're all doing well. We're up to a lot of stuff at the beginning of the semester here. I'll kind of give a similar report when I get to the students. We've just finished our student organization grants process, which gives funding to a multitude of clubs on campus, registered student organizations. We've reached out to donors, the UMD level, done one PR, we have 1,000+ followers on Instagram this year for UMD. Our legislative relations committee is currently going down to Bulldog Lobby Day next week, Wednesday. Thursday is going to be our Duluth and St. Louis County Days at the Capitol. And then the next Tuesday we'll be there as well for Support the U Day. We've got a lot of initiatives going. We just started a third event called Snow Week, which we finished up last week, and that went very well. We have Earth Week coming up this April, and then we're currently in the process of student service week this semester. At the same time, we recently hired Vice Chancellor for Finances in the previous semester, and we're working through a Vice Chancellor for Student Life Search. Everything from us.
Thank you, Sam. Do anyone have questions, comments for Sam? All right. Let's circle down to Rochester. We have Caitlin here.
Hi, yeah, so today we're hosting Taiwo, and then we're also working on a couple things at Rochester. We are working on getting the Hunger-Free Campus designation, which will go through the Senate in the next couple months. We're working on making sure we meet all the requirements for that. We are also working on a couple of events for UMR, an upcoming cultural gallery, which will give some of our cultural student groups an opportunity to share some of their heritage, and then also a event that the university is holding, sponsoring this year, is a downtown Rochester event called Socialize, which we hope to get a lot of publicity, as a lot of families in Rochester like to attend. And it's an event where we can look at ice sculptures and drink hot chocolate and play games outside. So yeah.
Excellent. Rochester is doing a lot of great things. I had the opportunity of looking around and seeing what they're doing. All right, any questions, comments for Caitlin, please? All right, thank you. Can we go quickly to Maurice? Elijah, huge.
Hi, yeah, so what MCSA is kind of doing right now is first one of the big emphases we've been working on is discussing who MCSA as an organization is going to support as out of the student regent candidates. And so we've been talking with the candidates and as well as having our own discussions about who we're going to support or endorse as an organization. And then we've been ramping up and preparing for Support the U Day. And then one of the bigger things we've been kind of preparing for and working on is our Prairie Gala, which helps raise money for our emergency fund SAGE grant.
Thank you. Any question, comment? All right, the absence of none. I want to move backward a little bit, sorry. I failed to allow Montas to say something. Since we're hosting it from here, Montas, do you have anything to talk about it?
Updates?
Anything, yeah,
I'm-
anything you think?
We're on track to have our 15th annual research symposium in May, and the dates and everything have been officialized. We'll be releasing the 25th. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I should cover everything else.
All right, excellent, thank you. Okay, Council of Graduate Students, Chase.
The first meeting of the semester is tonight. Conks is meeting tonight. We're discussing a couple things, mostly related to the bylaws and possibly adding a separate director to manage legislative relationships. And then we're also promoting all campus elections. If you guys are running for re-election for next year to be in Student Senate, the deadline to complete the Canvas course is tomorrow, I believe. And yeah, I think those are all my updates.
Thank you for reminding folks when you're planning to run to quickly complete the Canvas course. All right, so folks, if you know you're running and if not, please go complete the Canvas course tomorrow. Tomorrow is the deadline, according to Chase. All right, any question, comments for Chase, Council of Graduate Students? All right.
I had a question. For reruns, is that as in like all of us who plan to continue being student senators, or is this like for open positions? Like, I'm just wondering, like, who exactly
Yeah.
this is for?
Yes, so everyone's term ends on June, at the end of June. And so everybody will have to run for re-election if you want to be in this position in the fall. So you go to the Canvas course. Thank you, John. You'll sign up for that Canvas course. You'll run for re-election through the campus election process. So.
Okay, and then for the student or for the internal committees for the Senate, I'm sure each Senate group will have like a director or like some sort of like project manager. And is that election separate? Like, will that happen at a different time? And is that also through Canvas courses, or is that a different thing?
No, those are different things. So if this bylaw change would pass, it would go in effect probably in April. And essentially, the directors of those committees can be either at-larges not involved in student government or student senate, as long as they meet the requirements, and that is actually through an appointments process through the SSCC. So that would be a separate applications process. But this is for, we're talking about the all campus elections, which is through all RSGAs and us go through this elections process for student senate seats.
Okay,
Clarify.
thank you.
To clarify for Twin Cities seats, if you're a system campus senator, you're appointed by your respective association on your campus. But this would affect most student senators, though. So thank you for providing more information on that, Chase.
Thank you, Chase. Let's go straight to the undergraduate student government. Jack.
Yeah, a few quick updates from us. We have our Engage U Dinkytown discussion event tonight, which is aimed to get students voicing concerns and advocating for housing affordability, food security, and public safety. We also, later in February on the 18th, have our Global Gala event, which is hosted by our DEI committee. And it's good for us to connect to student groups, specifically multicultural ones. I think that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you, Jack. Any question for Jack and USG? All right, thank you. Let's go straight to Crookston. Do we have Haley? No, I don't think so. Is anyone from Crookston campus here? Haley will join us much later, I believe. Do I have anyone from Crookston? All right, so when we have the Crookston campus rep here, then we would ask them to present anything they have for us. And let's go to our vice chair, Ethan.
Thank you. I have a couple updates here. First being about what's the current form of what Chase proposed as the internal committees. We have working groups right now. Those of you that did the Canvas module, you would have seen the overview of that as well as the sign up information. Last week, I contacted all of the people that signed up to be chairs or secretaries of these working groups. So everybody should be in the process of setting up meeting times and conducting their first meetings. I'm going to check back in with all of you next week to see where you're at, what you may need, what you've worked on so far. For those of you that didn't sign up for a working group, if you'd like to, that information is still on the Canvas page, and you can either reach out to me or the chairs. That's all on the spreadsheet there if you would like to be involved in this. Additionally, I'm going to send out information about the Student Senate Chronicle soon. For those of you that were in the Senate last year, you would remember what this is. Taiwo helped organize it last year. It's a great opportunity for our work that we've done this year to be commemorated for future senators to look back on, as well as for us to look back on in the future if we want. So I'm going to send out a Google form that'll just ask for a little bit of information about you, what you've done this year, what committees you've worked on, what work you've done in your respective RSGAs as well. And then once I get that information, I will be in contact with the people that signed up to work on our, like, the communications and outreach working group, so we can work on compiling this together into a deliverable form for all of you and for anybody else who may be interested in that.
Sweet, thank you, Ethan. Any question, comments? All right, in the absence of none, we should now listen to Dana. This is the rep for the professional student government and our ranking student senator. Dana, are you here? Okay, I just read a message from text from Dana. Dana will probably join us a bit late. Something came up. All right, and then that concludes report from each of the students' organization. And so item 4 on the agenda is my update. So we do have some open seats that needs to be filled. I'm not sure how that's gonna work out since the semester is, we have just 2 more meetings after today. But John, do you think it's something we might be able to accomplish before the next meeting?
Yep, 100%.
Excellent. So we'll try and get those seats covered at least before the next meeting. You already heard from it, and the student Senate Chronicle is gonna have when you go to the University Senate website, and then you go to the Student Senate tab, you'll find the Student Senate Chronicle from last year. And so we hope to replace that with all of you this year. And if you do have interest in design, or you have some experience, or just want to hone some of those skills, please reach out to Ethan and try and work with him. Last year, I worked with Chase, Chase and Kristen. Yeah, I know they were CCs. Yeah, Chase and Kristen, just the 3 of us were able to compile that chronicle last year. So the more hands we have, the better. Although last year we didn't spend so much time. I mean, myself, Chase, and Kristen, we just have a Zoom meeting, and barely in 1 hour, we've covered a lot. I think we had just 3 major meetings or so. At least some folks joined us and had to do other things. But so if you have interest, please reach out to Ethan and let us see how we can accommodate. Let's do something together. I have an update from Boynton Health. Recall that last year we invited the Parking and Transportation Services to Benton, from the Parking and Transportation Services to the Student Senate meeting, and they talked about their willingness to work with Boynton to provide 2 hours parking for students who have appointment. And well, the long and short of it is, I don't have a clear answer right now, because I chatted with the Boynton director, and the information I was getting from Boynton was a bit different. And so it looks like in the hand, they're only trying to create 2 hours space. That's what they said anyways, in the parking lot, and expand from there. But for now, I do not have clear information from them about providing 2 hours validation for every student that uses the Boynton Health. So that's going to be an ongoing conversation. They have said they want to try and see if this semester, they want to use this semester to collect a couple of some data and see how it works out first. Then maybe they might have to reassess that. And so, like I discussed at the SSCC meeting, I was going to meet with them at Boynton Health. I'm yet to do that. So my plan is I will try and get that sorted in the coming days. The Student Senate, we were able to create a welcome message for the spring semester. And we sent that out to all SSCC members. And I think on the Slack, we might have sent it to every student senator. So the hope is that since the SSCC reps to the SSCC represent their various organizations, their student association, and so we expect that each of you on the SSCC would share that with your organization or association communication, so they can send it out to students. Somehow, it's time we let the students know that someone is listening to them. We care about them. The Student Senate exists. That can create more interest in folks. Next year, we can have a lot of people coming in instead of having some open seats, and we're really scrambling to get those seats occupied. So this is February, so please send it out to your folks. And John, if you don't mind, can you help me put it to the chat, the link, so that the rest of you can at least take that out and send it to your folks. Use your social media platform for your organization, Instagram, and the rest of it. There's one more piece from me, and that is the discussion on international students. International students, we hear you. If you remember here, I know we have some of you are international students. We do hear you, we care about you. These are interesting times, and I know I've heard a couple of discussions in different corners where folks, both faculty, staff, and students who are Latino Americans, BIPOC folks, and of course, international students are scared and worried that they might be targeted and stuff like that. Conversation, I know that the president of the university sent an email out on Monday at about 5 p.m. ish. So please, if you've not seen the email, check your inbox, read the message. There's a couple of information and resources there that you can that might be helpful. And if you have, since you represent a ton of associations, please, if folks reach out to you and need information, please, you can send them to ISSS. That's the International Students and Scholar Services. They are equipped to provide guidance when necessary. And I think that's the best I can say right now, but I know that conversations are still ongoing. The whole stuff is still evolving. Just take care of yourself, look out for each other. That's all I can say. Take care of your mental health too. I chatted with some folks yesterday and I said we're all humans. And so if it's stressing you out and it's taking a toll on you, please talk to somebody. All right. Please talk to someone. We are all here and we do care. If you don't know where to go, I'm also here. Just send me an email, whatever. And I would try at least refer you to the resources that you need. All right, any question, comment? Okay, one more thing. I said it earlier, I'm on the Rochester campus, and our plan this year was we thought that we'll be hosting the Senate meeting from each of the system campuses. So Rochester now knows that we care. They know we truly care. And so we hope that we would visit Duluth next time. And other system campuses. So we're trying to do this. Interestingly, the University Senate was trying to propose something similar after we talked about this. They want to start hosting in-person meetings. Let's start from there. That's how they're going to start. Some of those meetings could be in person and stuff. All right. Any questions for me? Comments? All right, thank you. So our guest for our next agenda item will be joining us at 1 o'clock. And that will be folks from the ISSS. So we'll have a recess until then. So this is just 11:58 a.m. I expect that we all can reconvene at 1 p.m. So please rejoin the meeting shortly before 1 p.m. because we intend to start at 1 p.m. and make sure we're done with the meeting at 1:30. So the meeting is adjourned. See you soon at 1:30, 1 o'clock, please. All right, item 5 on the agenda. On the agenda item is a discussion with representatives from the International International Students and Scholars Services, ISSS. So we're joined by Catherine. Catherine, I don't want to murder your last name, so I'll just say Gaylord Miles. I'll leave it up to you, and Charles Daniel, you're welcome both to the student side. The floor is yours, please.
All right, well, hello everyone. Thank you for having us today. Charles and I thought that we would start with some introductions. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Catherine Gaylord Miles. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as the Associate Director for Student Advising and Counseling in International Student Scholar Services. Charles, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone. My name is Charles Dania, he, him pronouns. I'm the Assistant Director for Crisis Management, Academic Counseling and Funding. Work with students across board, students who are in crisis, having academic issues and funding issues. They're kind of all interconnected. So, and I report to Catherine.
So we were invited to come and talk about international student services and to engage in a conversation with you all about ways that students might be supported. Charles and his team do some very specific things to support our international students. And so I thought perhaps we could start with talking about some of the things that Charles does, and then I can broaden the conversation and talk a little bit more about what my team as a whole and some of the different support services that are available throughout the system. So Charles, do you want to go ahead and talk about the work that you do?
Yes, just like I mentioned, I'm the Assistant Director for Crisis Management, Academic Counseling and Funding. So part of the reason to just having all of these different areas and, under one team, it's really, really important because students from our experience can get into crisis mode just from academic issues that they're having. They could also, go into crisis because they're having funding issues. So just having a team of people who are able to meet students where they're at when they're dealing with all of these issues is something that I think is really important, and it's very unique to ISSS. Part of what we do, so ISSS has a funding program. It could be, we have an emergency funding program where students who, for whatever reason, are having, maybe challenges with food, rent. It could even be that they're having a loved one, who they've just lost a loved one, a parent, an uncle, or, whoever. As long as that person is very important to them, we could, basically support them in having to be a part of the funeral ceremonies and maybe going home. We also have students who might be having issues with a laptop, for example, or could have had, something stolen from them. Those are people that we would work with and try to understand what the situation is and see what the best option would be for them. We also have an academic financial support for students who might have experienced a sudden and unforeseen financial difficulty. So for example, when we had COVID, there were a lot of students whose, sponsors were no longer able to continue to pay tuition. So that was something that was really sudden. We were able to work with a lot of students to provide, maybe some assistance with regards to tuition or fees, health insurance, and things like that. So again, if students are international students who in F1 status are having funding situations, they can always come to us. I have 2 other people on the team who would talk to students and try to understand what their situation is. We also work with students who are having academic challenges, so we provide academic counseling. Academic counseling is quite different from academic advising in the sense that we're looking at the holistic situation that the student is going through. So what's responsible? Could it be a financial situation? Could it be an immigration issue? Whatever that is, we're addressing those issues and helping students navigate all of that. I specifically work with students on academic warning. So mainly students in undergrad who are having academic warning because that could be a potential issue for them. They could eventually get suspended, and that could be an impact on their immigration status. So trying to be proactive and see how we can provide support for those students and get them back on track. And then crisis. So we have a lot of students who, for whatever reason, it could be having issues with mental health. So crisis can be anything from a student who is unresponsive, they're not coming to classes, something is going on, or maybe a student who has indicated to someone that they want to harm themselves. So those are cases that we would respond to. I work very closely with the behavioral consultation team and try to navigate all of these different issues. So if you have any students who are having issues, or you think that students are going through serious situations, you can always refer them to my team, and I'll pass it on to Catherine.
Thanks, Charles. So Charles spoke specifically about the work that he and his team do, and there's so much more that International Student and Scholar Services and the university do to support international students. So within the portfolio in my office, I supervise teams that provide immigration advising for our international students from the time that they're admitted all the way through to post-graduation work authorizations, in addition to the wraparound support services that Charles and his team provide. Other parts of International Student and Scholar Services assist in providing different services to international students. So for example, we have a team that focuses on student engagement and intercultural initiatives, and they do a lot with programming and helping our international students build community on campus and find spaces to connect. Part of that starts even before students arrive. We offer pre-arrival webinars so that students can learn more about what it's like to live in Minnesota and to go to the University of Minnesota. And there are opportunities for students to connect with what we call caucuses. They're identity-based groups, and so students can try to make connections that way. We have programming that's based out of our office, like a leadership retreat that we've brought back this year. And we do a lot in partnership with other offices on campus and organizations out in the community. So for example, we have a really strong partnership with Career Services, and there's someone embedded in Career Services who focuses on international students and helping them navigate the process of searching for a job in the US. How many of you have tried to find a job here in the US? I don't, um, see a few hands going up on camera. All right. So it can be a hard process regardless of where you are from, right? It's if you haven't had a job before, or if you're looking for a new type of job, that can be a really hard process. It can be hard to figure out how to put together a resume, how to put together a cover letter, how you talk to an employer. And so we have some great resources and support services for students in partnership with Career Services around those types of topics. And what about taxes? Have any of you filed your own taxes before? Was it an easy process? I see some big head shakes. No, yeah, it's not an easy process. Yeah, I am an American. I've lived in the US my whole life. I've filed my own taxes for a number of years. It's still really tough. It's a complicated system to understand. And so we partner with some community organizations like North and NRV Tab that help our students navigate the American tax system. They offer webinars and some individualized advising appointments. And we're really excited to have partnerships like that to help our students navigate life in the US. System-wide, we also have a lot of support for our international students. Some of the work that we've talked about is focused on the Twin Cities, but there are advising staffs for international students at all of our campuses, and the size of the staff varies by campus and the international student population it has. But many of these support systems are also offered to our students at the system campuses as well. And the university is expanding its services to the system campuses, which I'm really excited about. One of the new things that is coming on board is that Student Legal Service is hiring a new staff attorney that will provide some additional immigration related support for students at our system campuses who haven't necessarily had those services before. So I'm excited to see the university support in that regard. The invitation to speak also came with an invitation to let us know how you can help support our work. And so I wanted to put a couple of ideas out and then open the floor up for conversation and questions. we always encourage our students to read the weekly update that we put out from our office. It's where we put a lot of really timely information and reminders. So for example, there are certain things that international students have to do before they travel overseas. So students are traveling over summer break, for example, we have some reminders about what they need to do. We have announcements about events on campus. And we want to make sure that students that they have the information that they need for their immigration status and are also able to connect into campus in different ways. And so we really encourage students to read the weekly update and to follow us on social media to find that information. We also invite you and others on campus to bring awareness of international student concerns. And so if you are in conversations and there are concerns coming up, please let us know. We may be able to help suggest resources, or if there are trends that we're identifying, we can collaborate with our campus partners to find ways to support international students through those concerns. We also appreciate when our campus partners and others promote opportunities like the academic counseling that Charles and his team offers. It's something that we do for students, and it helps them succeed here on campus, and we know that it really positions them well, but we don't always have as many students engaging in it as we would like. And so I think anytime that people can help let international students know about those services like academic counseling, that also helps us. And similarly, helping share resources on campus is really important as well. So for example, on-campus mental health resources or tutoring supports or the food pantry, those are all resources that may be unfamiliar to somebody who's coming from outside of the United States. It's not a part of higher education in every country. And so the more we can increase awareness of these different help and support resources that are available to all students, not just our international students, I think is really important to supporting our international student population. So those are some of the things that Charles and I were hoping to share with you all. What questions do you have? Josh, I see your hand up.
Hi there, Joshua Fuller, Senator for the University Law School.
Okay.
I wanted to touch on some concerns that I know that my colleagues have had, especially this past year with international law students. We had a situation
Okay.
at the law school that, due to some clerical mistakes, we had a student who nearly lost their visa status, who lost job opportunities. And thankfully, the situation worked out through the law school, but there are concerns of what can ISS do to really help, students who, might have paperwork issues, because, if they're trusting that, the systems in place are gonna submit their paperwork in a diligent manner, and that is not done, they feel left out to dry. And I know that there are many international students in the law school who feel exactly that way. So what initiatives can the ISSS do to ensure that that does not happen again?
Mhm. So thank you, Josh, for your question and your concerns. Um, we there are there are a number of different things that we're already doing that we can potentially build on as well. So for example, we do a lot of proactive outreach to students about their immigration status. We provide educational materials before students come, and then at key touch points. As we know students might be hitting certain milestones or certain markers through their educational journey, and reminding them about steps that they need to take. Um, we offer a variety of workshops that students can do. Many of them are asynchronous and online, so students can do them at whatever time is convenient for them. We also work really closely with our advising community to talk to them about what these processes are and what the necessary steps are. And so, for example, when academic advisors are involved in an approval process or in other advising situations, if they have more of a background and more of an understanding of the process, sometimes that helps it go more smoothly for international students. We've got two trainings that we have in March. We're offering it at two different times for academic advisors and anybody else on campus who wants to learn more about international students and the processes that they're going through, and how academic advising might intersect with something like immigration advising. And so that's a great opportunity for us to do some education to our campus partners and others who might be involved in the processes that we do, but don't necessarily sit in the International Student and Scholar Services office.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Chase?
Hi, could you provide some statistics on the percentage of international students currently enrolled, and the trend of increasing or decreasing or stable enrollment of international students in the next 5 years?
Oh, that's a big question. So we right now at the University of Minnesota, we have around 6,000 international students. I will back up and say that there are different ways to define who an international student is. And when I'm talking about international students, I'm talking about students who are on a visa that is specifically sponsored by International Student and Scholar Services. And so they're here specifically on a student visa. There may be other people who identify as international students who are on other visa types, or maybe even have a US passport. Maybe they've lived abroad or had an immigrant experience. And there are many different identities that could be considered an international student, but for reporting purposes and for the purposes of immigration advice and conversations, we're talking specifically about students on particular visa types that are sponsored by International Student Scholar Services. And so we currently have about 6,000 international students, and the enrollment has kind of ebbed and flowed over the past few years, especially with COVID. We saw a drop through COVID, and numbers are coming back from that, and we're really excited. We had the largest, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was the largest international undergraduate class on record this past fall. So there's some staff in the ISSS who were doing some recruitment work in collaboration with undergraduate admissions, and they did a really great job of letting international students know about the University of Minnesota and the opportunities here. And so we were excited to welcome a really big class of international undergraduate students. And I think nationally we've seen some similar trends where numbers dropped off over COVID, and they're starting to come back. Um, it's hard to project into the future. You asked about the next 5 years. Unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did. There are a lot of questions that I'd like to be able to answer about the future. And so I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen with trends in the next 5 years, but I know that the university is really interested in being welcoming to international students and is making intentional recruitment efforts. And so I hope those pay off in an increased international student population here on campus. So, Caitlin, it looks like you have your hand up as well. Caitlin, maybe it would be easier to put your question in the chat if you're getting some feedback.
Hi, sorry. I'm in two places trying to figure that out. Anyway, I'm sorry. My name is Caitlin. I'm the University of Minnesota Rochester representative for the SSCC. I was just quickly perusing the ISSS website and some of your resources, and it doesn't specifically say who the representative is for Rochester. I believe you mentioned that there is support in all campuses, and I'm wondering if you know specifically who that contact is.
Yes, her name is Amiko Walker.
Oh, okay. Yep, I know her. All right. Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure that we can put these out to the students, so this information's known and resources are known to them. And so I will reach out with her.
Okay. Yes, and I know that Miko does a lot to reach out to the students there at Rochester.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I would jump in and ask a few questions, and colleagues, if you do have more questions, feel free to use the raise hand button and let us know. So I understand that the ISSS is not an immigration office, and right now, based on my conversations with folks on campus, international students are worried. Some visibly scared. I recall last night at about 10:30, about 11 p.m., with some international students to chat with them. And some of them actually choose not to even go on campus as much as they could. They're scared to even get into the bus. They're not illegal, but they're just scared that they could be targeted and picked up and stuff like that. And so in the event that that happens, I do understand from the weekly communications that we have the emergency phone number that folks can call if they're in crisis or whatever. But does the ISSS provide? I know we still have the student legal service, yes, but in the event a student is picked up and they need representation, and does that representation come from their pocket money? Well, do we have a system in place where which the ISSS can be proactive in providing the support that these folks can need in a seamless way, since they are home, far away from home, let's say?
Okay. So thank you for your question. I'm sorry to hear about our international students and their concerns about being on campus. I know that there are a lot of very real concerns right now. In terms of your question, where students are, if they're picked up, that would probably be a very individualized advising situation where we would connect students with resources. As you noted, we do have the emergency crisis line. That's a new initiative that we put in place recently, or the emergency after hours line, I should say, for students who are who have various concerns, including immigration related concerns. There are ways to reach staff after hours. And the most of the calls come to me, and so I would be responding to that initially. And depending on what the situation is, yes, Student Legal Services is a resource, and they have immigration attorneys on staff. They can also help make referrals out to community providers if something is beyond their capacity. The Binger Center for New Americans here on campus, it's based at the law school. They are also serving as a resource for community members on campus, students and others. And so they can help connect students to community-based services that have a variety of services at oftentimes sliding scale fees. And so there are a lot of different resources that we could connect students to depending on what exactly is going on and what resources they need.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just to follow up, the other time Kevin asked about if we have a designated representative for the UMR campus. So I'm hosting this meeting from the Rochester campus. So similar thing is what I'm asking. If there is an issue, do we have a designated person? Do we have an attorney that we are sure? Like, for example, I need to talk to students. I represent almost over 70,000 students across system campuses, and we have about 6,000 internationals. I should be able to tell them and say, you know what, be rest assured, if anything happens, we have this point of contact that would step up to defend you. You don't need to call your parents. You don't need to start looking for money here and there to help yourself, even when you know that you've not done anything wrong. So that's what I'm asking. I don't want a reactive approach. I'm looking for a proactive approach. Do we have something like that on ground right now, specifically for the climate that we're in?
So the ISSS and the Binger Center and SLS are in conversations about ways that we can, about the resources that we have and the the ways that we are currently supporting students and ways that we can continue to expand that and what additional support and resources might be needed. And so, as I said, we do have immigration attorneys on staff through SLS that students can access. They are adding another one of those positions. And so those are, that's proactive work from the university in terms of providing additional support and representation for students as needed.
Yeah, thank you very much for the response. I understand we could use the SLS, but from what I know from the SLS, you don't get a response immediately. For example, they have a consultation platform. So any student that goes to them, you have to fill out the form, to get back to you, and then schedule to meet with an attorney, which could take another 1 week. So if a student was in detention, the student will remain in detention for another 1 week.
So I don't know what SLS's internal processes are for escalating cases, for example. If ISSS knew that a student was in detention, that's certainly something where we would reach out to SLS and the Binger Center and other partners on campus to see what opportunities there might be to escalate it and to work on something much faster. We haven't had any, we have not had any students in that particular situation to my knowledge, and so I don't have any specific concrete examples to give of how the university has been able to do that, but I know that our campus partners are very willing to step up and help support international students and recognize the urgency and severity of situations that arise.
And I could add real quick, I think, the after hours phone line would be a good place to get, at least just putting out the information, letting us know that something is happening, and then we could, try to facilitate, who we need to talk to, who we need to work with. That's what we do with crisis right now. There are cases that come up, 10 p.m. at night, and then we're trying to navigate how to respond to those cases. So I think, something like this would fall into that crisis situation where we're, working with campus partners to see who and how we could, get on top of the situation.
Mm-hmm. A great point, Charles. Thank you.
Thank you. Sian?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So I have a question that kind of piggybacks off of that one. Before any action is being taken against these students, is there a place that they can go to if they have concerns about their student visas or their immigration status, where they could get help, one, in a way that's affordable for them, but also in a way where their status isn't threatened?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So for international students who are under the university's visa sponsorship and who are on specific visa types, that expertise is housed in ISSS. And so International Student Scholar Services and the international student advisors around the system would provide that advising to students. For our students who are on other visa statuses or maybe don't have a visa status, some of the work would be done by SLS, some of it would be done through the Binger Center and referrals out to community organizations. And so it would depend on what exactly the student's status or lack of status is and what their questions and needs are. But there are lots of different resources that students can connect with in advance to get their questions answered.
Okay. And would it be from like an attorney, like someone with legal experience, or?
So SLS has immigration attorneys on staff. The Binger Center is referring out to community organizations that often are immigration attorneys. ISSS staff generally are not immigration attorneys. We are specialized in international student advising. We've had lots of training. Many of us have had years and years of experience in the field. And that's kind of the standard background of many international student advisors at institutions, is that we have specific focus training, but don't necessarily come out of a legal background.
Okay. And then for those of us who aren't international students, but we still have concerns, is there a place for us to sort of express our thoughts about like different policy changes?
We can, so you're certainly welcome to share whatever concerns that you have. I will put my email address in the chat and you're welcome to follow up with me. If it's a concern about ISSS and our services, that may be something that I can address. If it's something that goes beyond the population served by ISSS and maybe a concern that I can pass along to other campus partners and can provide feedback to the appropriate office or to someone who has more authority and oversight over whatever area is of concern.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Catherine and Charles, for coming and for having this wonderful chat with us. It's really helpful. Thank you so much. Colleagues, so do you have any last words before we leave you, before we let you go?
No, I'll say thank you for inviting us, and I went ahead and put my email address in the chat. If anybody has follow-up questions or thoughts that they'd like to share, you're certainly welcome to get in touch with me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, you too. Colleagues, so we have, sorry, I will have to just take us back a little bit. It's time for us to go, but just give me 2 minutes. Haley, do you have anything from your campus, Roxanne?
Nothing too much. We have mostly been focusing on stuff prepping for graduation, and there's talk about us not having a keynote speaker because people are saying it's too long and unnecessary for us to be having one. Other than that, we had a discussion about our courseworks and the idea of bringing in an option about only having coursework selected for one time, and that you don't have to opt out of it every single semester. Our students said that it wasn't a necessity because most of our materials we have to, prices change. But I don't know what you guys think about your guys' campuses. We got told that it was because of art supplies, but we don't have a lot of heavy art classes here.
We have no art class. Well, no, we have one art class, which is more community based than art based.
Okay.
Right.
So sorry to, I know that Sam Schmall and the Duluth campus are working on something very similar to that, working on a resolution for that. So maybe be in contact with them. Sam, I don't know if you're still on the call, but yeah, he might be someone you want to reach out to.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Then Sian, you talked about policy change. Please let's chat offline later and see. It's good when we have a united front and we're able to push things together. You get response quickly. So if you have some nice ideas, happy to chat with you. All right, colleagues.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, great, thank you. Item 7 concerns new business. Oh no, sorry. Item 6 is old business, of which we have none. Then item 7 concerns new business. Please note, just for formality's sake, that any new business will be referred to the SSCC unless special permission is granted by 2/3 of those present and voting. Is there any new business? All right, seeing that we have none, that's why I said it's a formality. Item 8 is adjournment. If there is no objection, I'll call for the meeting to adjourn. Is there any objection? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thank you guys. Have a good afternoon. Please don't forget the University Senate meeting holds at 2:30. See you there.